What's up, Star Wars nerds, and welcome to another episode of Brett on Fett. On this video, we'll take a look at some interesting finds and pickups from a toy hunt I went on last week out of town. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 53 of Brett on Fett, and last week was spring break for the kiddos, but I also had a work conference to go to in the city of Dallas, Texas, located about 250 miles from where I live. We also have some family and very good friends that live in the Dallas area, so we thought we'd make a little family/work trip out of the whole thing. And there was one day where I had about a 3 or 4 hour window to do some toy hunting. And I saw some interesting things in the wild and was able to pick up some interesting things as well. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. Now I do have to apologize. I went into this toy hunting expedition not thinking I was going to film anything or use it for my channel. But by the third stop, I thought I had to take out my camera and film a little bit of the items out in the store and thought I'd share it with you. Now I ended up going to 3 different stores on this toy hunt. I started off with Order 66 Toys, followed by DFW Toy Stash, and lastly with Madness Games and Comics. And Madness is the place where I ended up filming. So I wanted to go over what I saw in that store with you because that was a really cool store with a lot of Star Wars stuff. So let's take a look at my video from that store, and then after that I'll go over some things I ended up picking up that day. Alright, so here I am at Madness Games and Comics, located in Plano, Texas. Plano is just northeast of Dallas proper. And just look how massive this store is. They've got all kinds of collectible toys here. Games, role-playing games, comics. And just look how big this place is. And look how many Funko Pops these guys have. These don't even include the Star Wars ones. The Star Wars Pops are in a separate section just for Star Wars, but look at it, wall to wall. So if you're a Funko collector, this is definitely the place to be. And speaking of Funko, I'm over here in the Star Wars section now where they have the Star Wars Funko Pops. These are a few they have in a case. I think these are probably a little more rare than the average ones, a little more expensive. But some really cool stuff. And by the way, I'm going to be going through this video super fast because if I went at real time, this video is going to be like an hour long because there's just so much stuff at this store. So I'm going to be going pretty fast. You might just have to pause it every once in a while if you see something that catches your eye. But man, just some really cool Funko Pop Star Wars stuff here. I'm not a big Funko collector, but I've seen enough to know that this is an excellent selection of Pops they got here, and I may have picked up one of these. This next aisle had a ton of TVC figures with some retro figures sprinkled in. They had some multi-packs and some TVC vehicles. They even had some individually carded figures from those multi-packs selling individually, which I thought was pretty cool. They had some original trilogy collection figures sprinkled in there. Some pretty neat stuff. There's some more look at the TVC figures they had. Then they had the Rogue One line figures. There's some Saga collection figures, episode 3 figures mixed in. Pretty good selection of those. They had some sequel trilogy stuff here. Those are like the 5 POA. Then here you got some carded 40th anniversary Black Series and archive collection. They got some jumbo figures hanging on the pegs here, which I thought was pretty cool. And looking over the next aisle, you've got all the Revenge of the Sith figures. I mean, they had a ton of those. And then some Legacy collection, both the red card and the blue card ones. Some Legacy collection vehicles, some really good ones there at the bottom. Then you got some Phantom Menace vehicles thrown in there at the bottom. There's some Droid 2-packs, Droid Factory, or Build-A-Droid 2-packs, some Tartakovsky Clone Wars figures hanging on the pegs. Some Star Wars Resistance, there's the Phantom Menace figures. There is some Last Jedi figures with some, I think, some Solo figures mixed in. And more Force Awakens stuff, more Solo stuff, Last Jedi vehicles, Solo playset. Then over here you start with the Black Series, so you got the Phase 4 Galaxy Packaging Black Series. They had old and brand new stuff like that Migs Mayfeld Black Series. They had some 3 3/4 Black Series mixed in there. Got some Boba Fett's. Got that old Gamorrean Guard. Here's some more of the red and black packaging Black Series figures. Just a ton of these things. This next aisle had a bunch of 30th anniversary figures. Love that line. Some really cool figures there. Some plastic models. And they had some Power of the Jedi vehicles and playsets. There's a TIE Interceptor that's really good. And looking over here, there's an interesting playset from Phantom Menace. Got some of those puzzle ships. There's that Rogue One set. I have that. My son has that actually. There's a pretty cool land speeder. Some more play sets. There's Ula. You don't see that every day. I had her for about, I think, $29.95. There is some more vehicles. Some good sets here. Look, there's an AT-ST. There's that Bantha. That's a really good one. A TIE Bomber. There's some really good sets mixed in with this aisle. You know, stuff that you just don't see all the time in these kind of places. They're not necessarily rare, but you just don't see them that much. Here's some cool stuff here. Oh, that's some Clone Wars vehicles. Here's some good ones here, if you Clone Wars fans. And look at this Power of the Jedi, or Power of the Force 2, excuse me, case. I've never seen that one before. There's some more games and play sets. And this is that, I guess, 2002 Saga series. And then here's the Shadow of the Empire. I have seen these quite often. They're pretty cool. I like the purple card backs. Some Power of the Force 2 stuff. And then you got the, I guess, the realistic Clone Wars line. Pretty interesting line. That's an interesting Anakin there. More 30th stuff mixed in, vehicles. And here is a ton of Power of the Force 2 and Power of the Jedi figures. I do like some of these. Not the beefed up human figures, but I do like some of the droids and some of the aliens. I think looked pretty good. There's a good droid there. And speaking of good droids, FX7, this is one of my favorites. I've already got him, but it's good to see him hanging on the peg. Now, going over to this end cap, I had a very exciting find. At the top of it, they had this 2013 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Angry Birds Original 12 Star Wars figure set. This thing is awesome. If you follow my channel, when I did a video on all the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, this was featured in that, and it was the first time I had even found out about this when I was researching for that video. So I never really thought I would find this thing in the wild, but here it was, and I thought long and hard about buying this, but I'm just trying to make more space in my collection for TVC figures. I just don't have the room to keep this thing. It's pretty big. So instead of buying it, I did the next best thing, and I told a good friend about it, fellow Star Wars collector and a real legend in the Star Wars collecting community, Mr. Gary Moore, lives in the general area of this store, so I let him know it was there, and he was out of town when I was there, but as soon as he got back into town, he did go over there and pick this up, so I'm very happy he ended up with it. Then there was a small section of bigger box items, mostly vehicles. Some really cool vehicles. Hey, look, there's a San Diego Comic-Con Land Speeder and Luke. There's a Slave 1 from Shadows of the Dark Side. TIE Fighter, Rogue One, the Royal Starship from Episode 1. Just really cool vehicles. ATTE, that's an awesome one. There's that massive MTT. I know only one Kenobi picked that up fairly recently. Here's some Hoth battle sets. I have that. There is the AT I have in my room. There's some Power of the Force sets, AT-ST from Hoth, X-Wing. Look, there is a Droid Factory Sandcrawler. And there's a Return of the Jedi, AT-AT, the Rogue One AT-ACT. Here is some, I guess, some Hot Toy stuff mixed in with some play sets. And there's a cool Episode 3 vehicle. And there is the Entertainment Earth droid exclusive set. Really neat set. Alright, so then they had a bunch of cool items in a glass case. There is the Republic Elite Forces, the Mandalorian figures. Those are awesome sets. Here's some really cool battle packs. You can see these are pretty pricey. Some of these prices I felt were right on market value. Some they were a little bit too high. And there was a few that I thought were actually good deals. There's a cool Saga Collection droid pack. Some Black Series, some Wampa sets, including that San Diego Comic-Con Hoth Wampa set that was pretty cool. There's a Rebels ATST, an old Lego set. Man, that's a really old Phantom Menace Lego set. Some autograph stuff was in this cabinet. Over here was a really cool Droid Factory series Droid Factory, and it came with a Gonk droid. I thought that was pretty cool. I hadn't seen that one before. Definitely never seen it in the store. There's a Kmart exclusive Clone Wars set. That's always pretty cool. More droid packs. Autograph stuff. There's that really cool Return of the Jedi Black Series set I featured on my channel before, and there's the Battle at the Sarlacc Pit Legacy Collection. That's a neat set. Over here they have a ton of like Clone Wars stuff. That's a cool pack right there. Legacy Collection. There's a really neat holiday Boba Fett 2-pack with a droid I thought about getting, but I already have the 30th anniversary holiday Fett, so I decided to pass on it. It's basically a repack. Just lots of cool sets, man. Just a ton of sets. There's a really good Jabba's Throne set. More Legacy Collection figures. Some exclusives mixed in here. Sorry guys, it was hard to show some of the ones laying flat because it's behind glass, so I couldn't really get a good angle on some of these. There's some more 30th anniversary. Some of the better figures from that line. Either that or they're autographed. Over here you've got some Power of the Force 2 stuff, a lot of it with autographs. There's an awesome Bosk IG-88 2-pack with autograph. Here's some more TVC, some 1.0 or higher value stuff. And look in the back, there was a vintage Kinder Rancor Keeper mixed in. There is the Jedi Temple Guard. That's a cool one. There's some older stuff and some loose figures. Here's a cool playset. There is an awesome R2-D2 Hot Toys. They had that Galaxy's Edge Millennium Falcon up there, and then a ton of neat, mostly modern loose figures. And then there was this pink Republic gunship with a Salacious Crumb image on it. I assume this was a custom, but let me know if this was actually sold. I don't believe so. Here's a ton of Legacy Collection figures in the case. Legacy Collection was a really good line, a very underrated line in my opinion. They had a ton of good figures. And then here's some of those comic 2-packs. These are really cool. I've got 2 or 3 of these. I'd like to get a few more. A lot of them are very pricey, but very cool 2-packs. And here's some of those loose, which is pretty unusual to see in a store. Usually you just see them carded. Here's some cool Comic-Con exclusive figures. Here's a holiday Vader that's pretty cool. More Legacy collection. There's some more loose exclusive figures. Pretty interesting. There's that Star Speeder from Disney. Some cool Clone Wars stuff. More comic 2-packs. Lots of comic 2-packs. Very good selection here. And there is an awesome Boba Fett Hot Toys. Boba Fett bus, excuse me. There's an Astromech Art FX. Look at this Vader. What an awesome Vader, and what an awesome Boba Fett Hot Toy. I don't know much about Hot Toys. I just know they're awesome and very expensive. Some cool vehicles and more Hot Toys, including some Shore Troopers, Grogu armor. And that'll do it for the Star Wars section at Madness. Alright, so now it's time to show you guys what I ended up picking up on this trip. And I'm going to start off with a cheat because this is the Princess Leia Bausch disguise helmet from Lego UCS. I'm calling it a cheat because I actually grabbed this at a Target that I ran into just to pick up some things I needed. You can pretty much find this at any retailer that sells Star Wars Lego, but I do collect these Star Wars helmets and been meaning to pick this one up, so just happened to grab it on this trip. Alright, next up I grabbed a couple of C-3POs from Order 66 Toys. I got these as openers as part of my mission to find the best modern C-3PO figure. I've got the original trilogy collection one, and then I got this awesome saga collection one on the Ewok chair. Now I did have the legacy collection version, which is supposed to be a straight repack, but this one looks way better than the one I have from the legacy collection. The color of the vac metal is a much better gold, and so I'll have to compare those on a later video. Next, I just had to get a figure for everyone's favorite X-Wing pilot to never miss a meal. That's right, it's Jek Porkins, the pilot with the very unfortunate, unironic last name. Just a cool figure. This is the first figure they made of Porkins. I think they made one other in a X-Wing pilot 4-pack much later. Next, I picked up from Order 66 Toys this Space Trooper from Heir to the Empire. This is from Power of the Force 2 Expanded Universe. This is to go with my other Heir to the Empire figure, Thrawn. I just need Mara Jade now to go with Thrawn and this one. They had Mara Jade, but they just wanted way too much money for her, in my opinion. But these are cool because they have that 3D fold-out diorama built into the card back. That was a pretty cool idea. There's a look at the wave. There's that Thrawn I have there in the middle. So pretty cool. Glad to have this and add it to my Heir to the Empire collection. And then my last Power of the Force 2 pickup, and probably my favorite of the day, is this Death Star droid with mouse droid. I again picked this up from Order 66 Toys. It's a freeze frame. I've been wanting this one for a while. I really like the way this Death Star droid looks, and of course I love that it comes with a mouse droid. There's an image on the back that's from the freeze frame. There's a really good dewback set and some other figures from that time period. But yeah, just a really nice 2-pack. Again, I liked the droids from the Power of the Force series. I thought they did a pretty good job with these. Next up, with all those Star Wars Funko Pops at Madness Games and Comics, I had to buy at least one. And I found this Macquarie Concept 4-pack. I love the concept art of Macquarie, and this one came with Yoda, a really cool Vader, R2-D2, and of course C-3PO. And again, I love Macquarie so much, so I tend to buy just about anything collectible that has to do with Ralph Macquarie's concept art. There's a look at his art on the back and the figures. So really neat set. Paid the original retail price for it, so very happy with this pickup. Alright, now this may be my favorite pickup of the entire trip. This is the Micromachines Space Series Star Wars droid set, and I have never seen this before. And I went nuts when I saw this because I love droids so much. They're probably my favorite part about collecting Star Wars. And this has got so many of these droids. Look at these guys. You got the Bomar Monk, you got EV-99, you got the mouse droid, you've got that guy, you've got Power Droid, you've got an RA-7 Death Star droid, You got R1G4, who's silver for some reason. An interrogation droid, who's also silver for some reason. You got a treadwheel droid. You got R5D4. You got my man FX7. You've got my favorite droid 21B. You've got my second favorite droid IG11. You've got Forlom, or Zuckus for you old school people. You've got that dome droid from the Jawa sale. And then you got the Legend 8D8. Man, the gang is all here. Those are awesome droids, each and every one of them. There's a nice picture of the set of them all together. And then on the back, you got a list of them all with a description. Very cool stuff. What's the name of that dome droid? Okay. Lin Demolition Mech Mining Droid. Okay, I never knew that. Good to know. And here's some other play sets from back then. These are some pretty cool sets. It kind of reminds me of the old Micro Galaxy sets I had when I was a kid. I had the Bespin set and I had a Luke X-Wing. Those were really cool. So I guess these are pretty similar. I just never collected these before. These came out in the early to mid 90s. Yep, that one says 1995. So yeah, just a really awesome set. Man, I was just ecstatic to get this because I love droids so much. Let me know in the comments if you guys have seen this or have this set. Next up, I picked up a couple of custom Lego minifigs from Madness Games and Comics, starting with this Book of Boba Fett. I've been wanting to get a Book of Boba Fett version of him to go with my Lego Fett collection, but I didn't want to buy that big throne room set Lego came out with. And I thought this was a really nice one. It has a lot of cool details on it. And so I was very happy to pick this up. And then I also got this custom Scorch. This was good timing considering my last video I did a review on the new Black Series Scorch. And Lego has never released a Scorch minifig before. So I thought this was a really cool minifig. Now my son is going to take that from me because he is a big Scorch fan and a huge Star Wars Lego fan. And finally, from Order 66 Toys, I picked up this vintage Kenner Power Droid, aka Gonk Droid. I love this guy. I have lots of fond memories playing with him when I was a kid. And it's not in the best of shape. It's a little bit rough, but not terrible. And I'm going to give this one to my son because he loves Gonk droids. He collects them and he's been wanting this one, and he does not care about the condition so much. So I'll wait to find a cleaner, more gradable version of the Power Droid for my own collection. But a really cool figure. Happy to pick that up for my son. Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments if you've been on any big toy hunts recently and if you found anything interesting. Thanks so much for watching this video. Thank you so much to my subscribers. Don't forget you can always follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Take care, and we'll see you next time.